Today, my topic of presentation is the prevalence of trunk impairment in stroke subject using trunk impairment scale. And this study was done in Bangalore at MS Ramaya hospitals. And we have conducted a very short prevalence study on the patients, which we see every day in the clinical scenarios. And we have finded out the major problems, facing every day. And based on that, we have selected one topic, prevalence of the impairment. So as everybody is not from the medical background, I just want to say that this condition is related to our trunk, where we we have the upper body, we have lower body, and the trunk, what we have in middle. There is a lot of impairment in that, in the stroke subject. After they recover, they get stroke in their body, they oftenly get paralyzed one side of the body, and then they're not able to use it up. They're not able to sit properly. They're not able to stand properly. Then there's a problem with walking and other daily activities of the patient. So this study was to find it out whether the impairment was, mostly on the upper hand side, or it was on the lower limb side, or his right side was affected, or left side was affected, or it was only the trunk which was affected and which was not giving the balance to the body. And patient was oftenly suffering from, he's not able to do activity, not because the hand was not working, because of the trunk stability was lost. So this was a clinical observation for us, and we have done a small prevalence study based on that. So we want to see that how frequent it was. So stroke is oftenly considered as highly neurological deficit, and it has a sudden onset. People from all over the world get severely disabled because of this condition, and this condition is seen 1.55 per thousand population. That is quite huge in terms of billions of population. And we see this is a major attack to the patient, where the entire body get paralyzed, and then patient will lose all his functional ability to recover. And we can see the trunk is being the centermost, the key point of the body. It handles the entire body mass and base of support of the body. We see from the trunk, from the proximal control of the trunk, which is actually being said in a lot of literature, that is an early indicator of your functional mobility. And we want to find it out whether the trunk impairment was huge, or it was not that much. And then we find it out that there's one scale called as trunk impairment scale, which was actually been find it out in the literature with highly reliability and specificity towards predicting the trunk impairment disorders very early. So motor component of the motor deficit of the disease was early picked up by all these indicators. So this scale, we find it out, was highly reliable to this kind of condition to pick up. So need of the study was, as there was high demand of stroke population, and we don't have any kind of a proper rehabilitation plan to treat only the trunk impairment. We ideally see a rehabilitation plan which is focused on upper limb, or it is focused on the lower limb. So we don't have actually an protocol where we can see that the trunk is majorly being affected, and there is no proper rehabilitation program which can actually activate the trunk muscles first, and later upper body and lower body. So there was no reliable data to check it out, how much population in the entire world was suffering from these trunk impairment even after they received the rehabilitation program. Further, we need to find it out how prevalent this disease is there in the community, how oftenly we have tackled that, how other rehabilitation people are actually checking it out, and how many people have developed the new technique. So unfortunately, we find it out there was nothing much evidence in the literature. So our study got highlighted when we start checking trunk impairments in trunk impairment stroke population using the trunk impairment scale. And the main aim of the study was to see or to find it out how prevalent the trunk impairments are there in stroke population. So methodology, coming to methodology, what we checked it out after checking inclusive criteria and exclusive criteria. Methods of sampling was taken was the convenience sampling. We taken the population from entire Bangalore, from all the hospitals, and type of study was actually the observational study where population males and females both were taken out, post-stroke patients between the age group 35 to 65. So sample size, what we got from the mother article was 152 as a number, where we find it out, it has 73.8 confidence interval and 0.1 is confidence level. Power of the study was 1.96, whereas 90%, 90 to 95% was our level of significance. And source of the data, already I said, it was from Ramaya Hospital, Bangalore, all the teaching hospitals and Ayush Hospital of Bangalore. The data was collected, both males and females was taken. So method of statistical analysis was done. The descriptive type, a simple descriptive type of statistical analysis was done, where mean and median was find it out, and we checked it out. All the baseline data we saw on the bar diagram, like age, weight, height, all the scores were normalized, and then we checked it out how much the population was affected from trunk impairment based on gender. We find it out 63% of the population was suffering, which was more male. So that shows us little idea that stroke is highly prevalent in males population as compared to female population. And then we checked it out whether we went more into that, and we checked it out whether this trunk impairment scores show something about was the stroke type hemorrhagic type, or was it ischemic type, or it was some other other type, like how was the artery being affected, how was the blood supply to the brain. So hemorrhagic stroke was occupying very small area, whereas ischemic type of stroke was having 50% of the population being affected. That means most of the people get stroke because of the artery being ruptured in the brain. And then we checked further, analyzing the scores. We checked it out whether left side of the body was more affected as compared to the right side of the body. And we find it out that right side of the body was, affected among all the populations. And we checked it out source of, again, we checked it out scores on trunk impairment scale, whether medial collateral artery was mostly affected, or it was the posterior carotid artery affected in the brain. So we find it out that 45% of the time of the score contributes towards MCA disruption. So that is the artery name, whereas PCA, the posterior cerebral artery, that is the posterior blood supply of the brain, was majorly affected. And then we saw the age and trunk impairment scores, and we find it out little bit sensitive data here. We saw that 35 to 45 age group people doesn't suffer from stroke and trunk impairment so much as compared to 46 to 50, where our assumption and hypothesis was 50 to 60 age group of the population must have got stroke, must have got trunk impairment, because they are old people, because they are geriatric people. But what finding we got was only 46 to 50 age group population was having the stroke. So 90% of the population, the people of our the sample has that stroke and trunk impairment. So that was quite a little bit difficult to understand, and we didn't find any literature behind it. What can be the reason as old age people not having that impairment, but as compared to middle age group having more impairment? So that triggered our learning, and we further went into finding association between gender and trunk impairments scores where we find it out. It has equivalence. There is no difference between male and female. Equally, males and females were equally affected. We checked it out. Association between trunk impairment in hemorrhagic scores, attack and ischemic attack in females and males. We further checked it out. There was no any difference. And we checked it out paratic side and non-paratic side, that is the paralysis side. Here also there was no difference seen. So that is equally been affected. So coming to the end of the slide, that was a little bit conclusion. That is prevalence of trunk impairment was found high. That is 85% among the age group less than 61 with an acute episode of less than 3 months of time. So that was, it was noted that 85.5% of subject post-stroke underwent the trunk impairment. That was quite huge, and p-value was 0.05. Although we did not achieve any statistical significance, but definitely we got the clinical significance with the number. So we can put forward this study further for further analysis. Furthermore, within the group also, we checked it out. There was high prevalence among MCA territory kind of stroke. So these people of MCA affected had highest trunk impairment. Again, we don't have reason for that. I think that was a limitation of the study. We can put up further research to check it out. Why that? What is the reason behind that? Only MCA territory has got more trunk impairment. So limitations. Then we have the conclusion and we have implementation. I think I advise further research to be done on this subject so that we can find it out a proper rehab plan based on trunk impairments. And we have we don't have any fund acknowledgement for that, and but ethical approval was further taken from MS Ramaya Committee of Research and Development. I thank you, and this is the references, few slides of reference. Thank you so much, and thank you for your listening.